Let's go on and see the team that we think is going to face Arsenal and get those 3 points in the North London derby. In terms of the injury news, Ange has been speaking in the press conference. There is some positive news, but there is also some negative news.
Yeah, well, the positive news is Van der Ven's been training for the whole international break, he said, so he's definitely going to be fit to play on Sunday. He said Solanke's been back in full training since the back end of this week, so as long as he comes through the next couple training sessions, he'll be absolutely fine to play on Sunday, which is a massive boost. The Richarlison remains out. He's continuing his rehab alongside Will Lancashire, who still remains unfit to be part of the first team. And Yves Bissouma has come back with a bit of a problem after on international duty. Came off the pitch early, unfortunately. Ange said that it's not a serious issue and he is receiving some treatment. So we'll see if he can make training tomorrow ahead of the North London derby. But yeah, as he's receiving treatment, there's no guarantees if that is going to be possible.
But let's get into the predicted lineup. In goal is going to be Vicario, who I think's been performing pretty well this season. And I actually think in this game we're going to see if the refs are going to put this this new thing to light in the game, because we saw last season Ben White playing with his gloves and Arsenal backing into him and all this kind of stuff. So we're going to see how protected the goalkeepers actually are this season.
Definitely, and we know Vicario and White was a big talking point last year, so I'm sure that's going to get extra focus this season.
On the right back will obviously be Pedro Porro, who again I think he's been fairly good this season.
Yeah, and I'm pretty happy with him. It's going to be a big game because he could have Sterling on that side, he could have Trossard, he could have Martinelli on that side, so all provide different kind of threats, and he's going to have to be, you know, on top of his game to make sure that they're not getting any joy down his side, and that's probably going to be the side where they fancy their chances of getting in as well. But it's going to be so important to make sure he's not getting caught out, but as well, when he gets that opportunities to be in the final third, he needs to be able to make something happen and provide the delivery to Solanke, because if he does, we could be right on the we could be right in the money there. I was looking at a stat. Apparently, he's in the top 3 players for players receiving the ball in the final third under pressure, which is an astonishing stat for a right back to have. So let's hope he keeps it up.
He ain't actually a right back. He's a number 10. Isn't he?
Yeah, exactly.
But also, as KPV rightly points out, it's Pedro Porro's birthday today. So happy birthday to Pedro Porro. Right centre back will be Cuti Romero. Obviously, he's a world-class defender, but he has had a few occasions of lapses in concentration so far this season, which has resulted in goals. So we can't be having any of that in the North London derby. And he had a number of chances to get on the score sheet he did get on the score sheet, but in the first half to get in the score sheet with those set pieces. I think there was one in the second half as well. So he has to put those away this time.
Definitely. If he gets those chances again, we need him getting a hat-trick. No, none of this one-goal rubbish.
Left centre-back will be Mickey van der Ven, back from injuries. Delighted to have him back, and I think he's going to be key for us in this game, particularly going back the other way when they're trying to catch us out on the break.
Definitely, and also when we're pressing them high, when he's stepping in, being aggressive, using his pace, using his aggression, he's going to be super important. He needs to be wary of Havertz, you know, his aerial ability, make sure he's not getting dominated in those scenarios. I thought last season he struggled in that aspect, so that's something to be wary of. But having Mickey van der Ven is always going to be a positive, so really great he's back.
Left back, obviously, Destiny Udogie, which I don't think he started the season particularly well. I still think he's recovering from that injury. He did play on international breaks. That's more minutes in his legs, so hopefully he is back to full fitness coming into this one, because he's got a big task in his hands coming up against Bukayo Saka. But even an Udogie, what we've seen in the first 3 games this season, is better than what we saw from Ben Davies.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I think that's fair to say. I think it's good. He got some minutes on international break, so it keeps him going, builds up his match fitness. I actually think he's played well. I actually think it's definitely been a bit of a fitness issue. In the last 20 minutes of games, he's been struggling. Came off in the first game. I think the first 2 games he had to come off, and then against Newcastle, I thought he really struggled with fitness. And you saw that with the goal we conceded. He just couldn't catch Murphy. So hopefully, there's more games on international break. He's building that match fitness to the best it can be. But yeah, him up against Saka, it was a very interesting contest the first time round. So I'm sure Doggy's going to be backing himself this time round.
To make up that. So that's the back four: Porro, Romero, Van de Ven, Udogie, with Vicario in goal. In the number 6, we do think Bissouma, it will become a bit too soon for him, unfortunately. So we're going to side with Rodrigo Bentancur in the 6, which could be his last game for a while in the Premier League.
Yeah, potentially. If depends how long the ban is. But look, I think there's glimpses of him getting back to his best. There's glimpses of him starting to make a real impact again in that position, but there are question marks about whether he has that full match fitness in the 6 to cover the ground that Bissouma can cover and stuff like that. I do think his pressing is really good, and I think his pressing's been really good so far this season, and even against Arsenal last year, he was the one of the players winning the ball back half the pitch a number of times. So I think if he's confident, he can make the difference in this game. But we're going to need him to be on it, like super concentrated, making sure he's not allowing runners off him and he's covering the ground he can, because it's going to be difficult without Bissouma to control that midfield as well as we could have.
Yeah. Moving on to the midfield, we're going to go for Decky in the midfield in the central areas. He's been so strong this season, one of our most consistent performances, even stretching back to pre-season. So hopefully he's in that mode again, and it will stand us in really good stead because he's so creative, so strong, and he's playing at the top of his game at the moment.
Yeah, and he played in the middle for Sweden in the international break as well, so he's really nailing down that spot, and he's really learning what it takes to be successful in that number, in that kind of 8-10 position in the centre. And I'm really liking him there. I think his physicality works in his favour massively. I think he's a really good presser as well. His pressing has been exceptional so far this season, and I think when Arsenal are trying to shut up shop a bit, I think there's no one more perfect than him to try and unpick that lock with his dribbling ability in tight areas and ability around the penalty area, link-up play. So I just feel like we need him in the centre, especially with no Rice and Odegaard. There's no better time to play him there.
And then in the number 10 will be James Maddison, who again has started the season really well. I wouldn't say back to his best, but still playing very, very well. And you cast your mind back to the Emirates at the similar time to last season. He performed so well at the Emirates last season, sold Saka down the river, didn't he? And then put in that lovely assist for Son Heung-min. So hopefully more of the same from Madders.
Definitely. And he's spoken about, his difficulties getting back from injury, but I think he's looking really good so far in the first 3 games. And a confident Maddison is a real difficult player for any team to deal with. And when he's on his game, he's one of the best 10s in the Premier League. So we need him in that kind of form. And I think him and Decky linking up together is a mouth-watering prospect against this Arsenal team. So I really hope they can pull it off for us.
Right-hand side of the attack, we are going to side with Brennan Johnson. It's a toss-up between him and Odegaard, but we think that Brennan, just over the Newcastle game, did enough to take that starting spot against Arsenal. If it was up to me, if it was a toss-up between Odegaard and Johnson, I probably would start Odegaard and bring Johnson on, because I feel like he's just so much more impactful off the bench. But we do think Ange is just going to side with Johnson.
Yeah, Odegaard's obviously started 2 of his 2 games since he's signed for Tottenham, so Ange clearly rates him and thinks he can make an impact straight away. We just feel like, since Johnson had such an impact off the bench against Newcastle and was probably our best player on the day after coming off the bench, Ange is going to just side with him. And also he started the first 2 games of the season, so we do feel like Ange sees him as our first choice right winger. And hopefully he can make a big impact in this game, so we're going to go Brennan.
Yeah, up top is a return to the starting lineup to Big Dom Solanke in his home debut for Spurs in a North London derby. Is it written?
It's written in the stars. Yeah, it's hard to even consider that. It's hard to remember, this is Solanke's first game at home, because it just feels like he's been at the club for so long already, like over a month. But this is going to be his first home game, and look, no better game for him to get underway. And if he can score on his debut, wow, instant hero. So what a big opportunity for him, and I'm sure he's going to be well up for it, and I'm so excited to see him in the flesh for the first time. And then last but not least, you know who it is on that left-hand side. It is going to be our captain, the Arsenal killer, Son Heung-min. Loves a goal in the North London derby, got 2 at the Emirates last season, and we're backing him to score again this time. Yeah, has a great record against Arsenal, so It's going to be a difficult game for him, but I'm backing him to make an impact. He needs to take that game to Ben White, make sure he's creating space, creating opportunities for Solanke and other players as well. And he's the player, when he gets a chance, he can make the difference. So we have to have Sonny there on the left.
All right, so let's run through that lineup with you guys one more time. This is your lineup we think is going to be there to face Arsenal. 2 o'clock kickoff at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Vicario in goal, Porro right back, Udogie left back, Van de Ven and Romero in the centre-back positions, Bentancur, Decky and Maddison in the 3 in midfield, Brennan Johnson, Son Heung-min supporting Big Dom Solanke. We did our predictions in the match preview. I am going for 2-1 to Spurs. This is your last chance, Sim. Are you going to predict the win?
Come on, 3-2.
Come on, that's what I'm talking about. That is what I'm talking about. 3 points against those South London Nomads. But that is your predicted lineup. Those are your score predictions. Let me know who you think is going to line up on the pitch and what your score predictions are in the comments section below.